So, this is Brian Molko from Placebo, wishing my favorite record company, because it's mine, Hut Records, a very, very happy birthday. Dave Boyd, Paul Collins, I love you very, very much. Thank you for having me. And I think we got a little Hut single coming up here. It could be Disarm by the Smashing Pumpkins. Love ya.
The very first band. It depends whether you mean like a license or a signing. For me, the label really started with, from the UK point of view, by signing the Verve. That was the first proper signing. The Smashing Pumpkins were here already 6-7 months, done with a... They came on via the American record company on a licensing deal done with Hut Recordings for the UK. So the Verve were the first. The Verve comes with a lot of mixed emotions, you know. I met them when they were 18. I was also 10 years younger and at the start of the label, and we kind of lived through a lot of things together, you know. It was the first kind of band that I was there when we signed the contract, and it was like, you know, we're signing this contract, giggle, giggle. It was the first band I got on a plane with to go to America with, and, you know, first band I went to festivals with. So it was like that first thing all the time, you know, and then the splitting up and then the coming back together, and after 10 years to turn around and sell nearly 8 million albums on the last album was quite a vindication. But none of us really enjoyed it because we were all too busy whilst it was happening to like stop and take the time. And then it was over again. But Richard, Richard to me is... you know, I'm totally biased, but the guy's up there with Dylan for me. He's just complete musical genius. I love where his head's at. I love his whole take on life, and he's educated me as much as the music, and a close personal friend. And you know, he's just going to go from strength to strength. The reaction to the last record, his solo album, is exactly what I expected from a guy who goes solo from a successful rock band. You know, there's that rock band mentality. It's 4 or 5 guys together and it's a gang, you know, and at a certain age you buy into that and it's very appealing. And sometimes when the singer goes solo, the fans almost don't want it. The media doesn't want it. And some people's reactions, oh, we were into the band, but now a solo artist is somebody your mum and dad would like, you know, but with him, believe me, it's a bit darker than that. When I met them, they were listening to, at 18 years of age, they were listening to Funkadelic and Can and Faust and the whole krautrock scene, and mainly black soul music. Some records I didn't discover till I was nearly 30, you know, they already digested at the age of 18, hence the rhythm section sounding like that. My favourite labels over the ages were, from America, was Elektra, which had a roster anything from the Stooges to the Doors to Tim Buckley to Love and a few other mad things in between. But it has a thread that runs through it, quite eclectic. And my UK comparison as a kid growing up was Virgin Records, funny enough, in the early days, where it was, you know, Henry Cow and Gong and Steve Hillage, very eclectic kind of music, and that was my criteria for a record label, was good music, left field, sign the left field and re-educate the public, and not the other way around, where the public are almost dictating now what's happening in the pop world. That's not what I wanted to do. And as far as the music criteria, it's anything really, any musical genre, as long as it's doing in that genre, it's being honest, it's connecting with people's heads and hearts, and for me it has to be about songs and emotion.
Signing to Hut Records was it was a bit of an emotional thing, basically. When we met the people who are running Hut Records, David Boyd, Paul Collins, they were the only people out of maybe 50 record companies that had stars in their eyes instead of dollar signs or Deutschmarks in their eyes, you know. They were the people who that we felt really cared about music, and that they were going to give us a great deal of freedom. They were very passionate, and we met a lot of people that it was all about money, drugs, women, the lifestyle. And for them, with them, it was about the music, it was about developing the band, about giving you freedom, about just letting you be who you were. And that's exactly what we needed to be.
Placebo was a complete reaction to what was going on in the UK at the time. It was lad culture, Loaded magazine, Oasis were riding high with a lot of little kind of dad rock bands following in their footsteps, and a lot of the audience looked like they could or should or would have been better off on a football terrace. You know, there was nothing wrong with football, but it was that kind of an audience. So I figured that there must be, for every kid like that, there's another kid like what I was, sat at home in my bedroom kind of not wanting to be like that. So I had this idea for a band and like that, and Brian came along with Placebo. Very European vibe, very kind of forward thinking, quite subversive, yet had this teenage kind of angsty, you know, just that whole thing about life's not all one-sided, you know, there's a darker side, and some kids aren't the Oasis fan base, you know, and that it was just perfect. It just came along at the right time. I signed them because they really excited me. They're 17 years of age. The music, yeah, if you want to pick reference points, you can hear early Verve there, you can hear Stone Roses, you can hear Led Zeppelin, you can hear even a little bit of U2 in the early days. And because of their age, they've lived through the whole dance culture, so there's a subtle tip of the hat to the dance culture as well, which makes it contemporary, I guess. But, you know, they're 17 and they wouldn't have digested, they don't have enough years in their life or hours in the day to have digested the amount of music that you have to come up with those reference points. So I think it's actually in the DNA now. But, you know, after 30 seconds on the first track, I just got that totally. It was right up my street. Rhythmic, anthemic, had a total vibe, psychedelic aspect, a real head aspect, very honest. Yeah, but you know, you're talking about a band that's probably only written about 6 or 7 songs at the moment, being so young. They're just finishing off their exams, so they need to spend time together to get the album written, but very exciting. Yeah, I'll play a track before you go. I've signed bands without ever seeing them play live. They either have it or they don't, you know, and I think the recording experience and the live experience are two totally different things. Most people get introduced to an act through the recording, which then would inspire you to go and see them live. But when you see them live, you've already got in your head what you take via the record. So when you see them live, it's a different experience, but it's you're not looking for them to emulate the record note perfect. So the bits they don't get, your mind fills in, and then you get this triangle kind of experience where when you go back home, put the record on, you can remember the live aspect, listen to the record, and it's kind of this weird mishmash of the two that gives you the third one. Well, funny enough, the music I signed 3 hours before I'd seen them play live. They signed the contract and then we all walked off to do the gig, and that was the first time I'd seen them. I just knew from the music that they were going to be able to pull it off, and they were equally as good live as on record. In fact, you know, better. The Verve, likewise, you know, records are one thing. Live was a different experience when Richard really let fly, and, you know, just he actually just loses it live. You know, he just forgets where he is and what he's up to, and goes off on a different kind of planet. You can't even see into his eyes. He gets so lost in it. He can't just turn it off and on. It's quite a real thing for him. I don't think he's in control of it either.